NVIDIA became the first company ever to reach $5.5 trillion and basically carrying the S&P to highs they never seen before either. You had NVIDIA, you have Intel, you have a bunch of stocks in the S&P that are doing very, very well. S&P, new all-time high, just happened yesterday. NVIDIA, as we discussed, $5.5 trillion market cap. Not going to go too far into that. But this is building on the idea of this picture has been going viral as well for the last months actually, but it resurfaced on my timeline. And it's actually showing that we are living in an AI bubble, or at least an AI echo chamber, us three, and I think the people listening to this podcast. Because if you look here, each dot represents 3.2 million people. If you're listening, it's a big grid of a bunch of dots, and each dot represents 3.2 million people, where only a small part of the people actually used free chatbots or free AI chatbots, and then like 7 squares actually pays for AI, but then only one of those squares, one dot of 3.2 million people, use AI for coding. On my Twitter, it looks like everyone is AI coding and everyone is vibe coding, and same on my YouTube. So it's like a bit of a confirmation that we are living in an echo chamber. And yeah, I'm just wondering, because the tweet here also says the singular red dot is causing a massive compute shortage, and you think memory stocks have topped? Ben, I see you saying yes. What's your thoughts when you see this?
Yeah, well, so I do think the chart's missing something pretty big. Basically, like, developers are a small slice by headcount, but if you actually adjusted for tokens consumed, that red dot would not stay one dot, right? Coder might burn 60 to 100 times more tokens than a casual ChatGPT user. I think I saw a guy even post online that he logged 865 million tokens in a single month, which is about $2,500 in API costs. So basically, if you redrew that pyramid by tokens consumed instead of just by headcount, you would get 50 or maybe even 100 dots for those coders, right? And so, yeah, the shortage isn't just some niche group, I guess, melting things. It is the people who are historically like building out every product, hitting the infrastructure all at once. And those people are 10x engineers, right? We always say how in AI causes a normal engineer to be 10x. And that only happens if you're consuming a lot of tokens. So the last thing I guess I'll say is I'd be curious to know what % of society are software developers, but it's probably something similar to that one red dot, right? Maybe it's even less than one red dot of how many developers there are in the world.
I mean, how many 10x engineers are actually there, right? Because if you think about even our token spend compared to Peter Steinberger's token spend, where he has a token limit of 50 million tokens per minute, I consume about 30 million tokens per month, right? Like, just to put that into perspective, those 10x engineers are even like way, way, way outspending people like us who are also basically continuously using AI all day, every day.
Peter is also the prototypical example of someone who is using agents, right, to be able to build when he's not working or when he's sleeping, basically, right? So he basically has, I'm sure, a pipeline and a roadmap. And I would wager to say that, you know, this is one of the amazing parts about open source in general, is that you can have a roadmap that's public to the world. And so everyone's adding their little features. And then Peter's just going in, he's saying, yeah, let's add that feature to the roadmap. Let's add that one. And then these products are just being built while he's not even at his computer. I think that's probably the only way you can get to 50 million tokens per minute, is this open source roadmap that everyone's kind of curating together.
I ran a little experiment on my Instagram, which has an audience full of normies, with this thing. And I was wondering, are you actually using AI? So my question was, do you use AI? 90 to 10. Then the next, do you use AI every day? We get to 73% saying yes. Then I asked, do you pay for using AI? Here is 63%, which is basically like the yellow dots on the bigger picture. And then also wanted to see how many AI tools do you pay for? Basically, where I was surprised that this, like, it doesn't really represent the big scale of dots. Like, and then I'm thinking as well, like, my audience on Instagram doesn't seem like a technical audience, doesn't seem like a tech-first audience. It's literally normies that are not spending their whole day behind the computer. They have a job or they do whatever. So then I'm thinking, if they vote like this, what does impact this difference in, like, using AI or not using AI? Is it geographical? Is this because there's a lot of people in Africa
that are your audience? Your audience is probably average age around 30,
yes,
right? And so when you look at those dots, our parents are not using AI every day. Our grandparents are not using AI perhaps at all, right? If you were to just look into 20 to 30-year-olds who are in, let's say, first world countries, I think it must be north of like 70, 80%. It is surprising, though, that even your audience, right, it looked like people using AI every day was only around 70%, right? Was that the number? I would think I think it would be higher. Yeah.
I was even 10% not using AI. I was kind of surprised that.
I'd be interested to see how many people are using it because their work has told them, hey, we need to be using AI. How many people are using it because of their own volition as well?
Yeah, true. Good point.
I talked to more girls seem to be using AI when it comes to like this whole therapy world. Like I met a lot of girls, especially in the last few months, that it seems like they use these chatbots as like therapists. And I wonder if that's almost one of the biggest use cases. I think
Matt.
Sam Altman did say that. Yeah.
Where have we heard this before? Well,
Why?
like whenever I was posting on Instagram and I get these viral videos on like emotional stuff, like all my followers were basically women and it was all like heartbreak relationship stuff. So I told Matt like, hey, he asked me, Rick, what would you do with this audience? Like, does it bring you any value? I'm like, yeah, I can always build an AI therapist for them.
Yeah.
And now you're actually confirming this thesis. Maybe I should have just done it. Maybe that's one of the apps for my ship season. Yeah.
And I think you see like those stats which people always like freak out about in terms of like, oh, like 30% of people under 30 have used AI for mental health or something like that. There are some, I've used a lot of AI tools. There's one called Sesame, which is incredibly lifelike and incredibly like empathetic. Is that the right word? Have you guys used it before?
Yeah. Maya, it's the best voice model I've heard.
Yes. I think people think it's dangerous, and I can understand why. You know, sharing your deepest, darkest with some data center that's somewhere, and you don't know who controls that data. But I'm sure that in 5 years' time, it's going to be used a lot. AI therapists or AI, maybe not therapy, but like, you know, that just layer where you like need to talk something through or whatever it is. It's coming for sure.
Yeah.
Or it's already here to some degree.
Yeah, what's funny there too is that recently shared this article about a government suing Elon or suing XAI because there was 4 cases of people that had some mental issues due to talking to AI. Like all those people using AI, I think there's way more people than 4 that actually benefit from sharing what's in their head with an AI because otherwise it just stays in their head. But it's funny that they nitpick 4 cases to then go after the AI creators. And maybe that's why you got to be careful building AI therapists if you're not qualified. But
yeah, it's classic news
Exactly.
cycle stuff, right? Like a good example of this is Teslas, right? That they're much safer than normal cars. But what gets in the headline is when the Tesla made a stupid error and like ran over a cyclist, right? It's not headlines where it's like, oh, Tesla saved another life today.